Hello, everyone. Welcome into New England Sports Time. And today we have a very special guest, Mitch Sabbatelli of the Greg Hill Show, video and live producer for the show on WEEI. And we're going to be talking Celtics here. And Mitch, thank you so much for coming on.
Pleasure to have me. Pleasure to be here. Thank you, Sam.
All right, so you look at the Celtics recently, those two losses. They lost to the Spurs and the
Mhm.
Thunder. What are your thoughts on that Thunder game? Such a close game against Oklahoma City.
Well, we knew those were going to be the two of the toughest tests. I think it came in a weird time with the whole Tatum returning from injury. Now, obviously, I think those two, along with the Nuggets, are probably the favorites in the West. So, really tough competition. They did beat the Cavs. People were forgetting that. But to go out in West and lose, the Thunder was almost a moral victory when you don't have Tatum or Derek White and to come back and they had a bad fourth quarter. But before that, really, really good effort the first half. The Spurs, anytime you're going up against Wemby, it's going to be really tough. He's going to change the game for the next 5-10 years, especially the next 10 years, actually. Very, very tough. He's going to make it tough on all opponents. But as for the Thunder, I still think they're the favorite right now. And SGA, he's my pick for the MVP.
Definitely, me too. You said it. You said it perfectly. Moral victory for sure for the Celtics. If there is a moral victory in the NBA, that's definitely how it feels because they went toe to toe with Oklahoma City. Jaylen Brown had 34, and it was interesting looking at his stats. He only shot 40% from the field, 10 of 25, 1 for 4 from three. You have to think that his numbers would have been a little bit more efficient or way more efficient even with Tatum or White in that game. So definitely a game they could have won. Just an unfortunate ending with the foul on Hauser.
Yeah, it's tough with Derek White too. Derek White doesn't miss any time, and nobody. I mean, knock on wood, but really nobody really gives him enough credit for that. He's always in there every single game, and not having Derek White out there in the starting lineup is going to really affect the team way more than people think. And obviously not having Tatum there, and then going up against the toughest team in the league, there's going to be some adjusting there. I thought Jaylen Brown navigated the game perfectly. And like you said, came down to the last play there, and I'm going to chalk that up as a moral victory. Thunder are really good. They're very well coached. Mark Daigneault is one of the best coaches in the league, in my opinion. Their bench is better than a lot of teams' starting five. Their defense, they're relentless, similar to the Celtics in that aspect, where they both can go head to head with almost anyone defensively, and that's interesting to see it nowadays in the NBA. And I think that could have been a finals preview going forward.
Oh, definitely. You said it. Derek White doesn't miss a lot of time. Interestingly enough, yeah, 76 games played last year, 73, so a bit more, a bit less before that, but 82 games in 22-23. So the Celtics, you have to think when it comes playoff time, they'll most likely have him in the lineup and Tatum. So definitely a moral victory. What are your thoughts on Tatum's return so far?
I think it's almost unbelievable how well. Obviously, everyone knows how quick he did come back with the documentary and everything like that. But I thought when he came in, I thought he was going to be a little bit more minutes restriction. He's coming in and just looks like the old Tatum. The first game back at the Garden, obviously there was some jitters there. He didn't really get going until he had that dunk against the Mavs, and then once he had that going right back and shooting the three. Um, and then he kind of coasted from there. But since then, I think that first game against the Mavs, he was kind of gingerly walking. I thought he was making sure that he was going to be okay. And ever since then, you wouldn't even notice that he's really injured. So he's doing pretty well. I think that was a good game for him to take off because of how aggressive the Thunder do play defense. And that's nothing against the Thunder. That's, in my opinion, I love how they play. But just to rush, I think if had Tatum been playing all year, I think he would have definitely played there. But to rush him back like that, you don't really want to have him go up against a tenacious defense like the Thunder right there. Guys like Lou Dort, Alex Caruso, Wallace, all these guys, Wiggins, guys, even in the front court, really, really good front court as well. The Thunder didn't have Hartenstein, and they were missing a few of their guys too. So can't write that off, but at the same time, I think the Thunder are a team to be reckoned with and will be for the next 5 years. and Sam Presti, one of the best GMs in sports. And I think they could even get better in a couple years. And he's really good at maneuvering the cap. And I think they're going to have a really good future as well as the Celtics.
Definitely. I think maneuvering the cap, you talked about that. I definitely think that's a hallmark of a great franchise, especially here in the second apron era. The Thunder, this is back-to-back years, they're very good. Last year they won the finals, beat the Pacers, and now they're right back at it. This is the hallmark, and you're seeing this similarly with the Celtics. They're still in the conversation of these good teams, even when they had to shuffle things around. They always find a way, and that's just really shows the testament of the Thunder and their higher ups, and also Brad Stevens with the Celtics. He's done such an amazing job. Yeah. But speaking of something a little less positive, Jaylen Brown's ejection. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on?
Well, I think Jaylen Brown's been navigating that whole, he's been the leader, but does he have to, be that vocal leader, or should he lead by example? I think what he should be doing is what he's been doing, the last 5, 6, 7 years on this team, and just be that lead by example type guy. He doesn't need to change his whole dynamic. And normally, I've noticed this year, obviously, this has been his best year. He's been amazing for the Celtics. But I do think, he's been arguing a little bit more than usual. And I think he is doing that as a leadership tactic. But I do think for him to be the MVP of the NBA, he needs to be out there, especially in those big, big games. And if it was in Boston, I would have liked it a little bit more, but it's not like he's trying to rile up the crowd. He's definitely going to get teched in that instance. And then after that first tech, he definitely should have kind of, calmed down a little bit. And knowing that Jaylen Brown, I think he will do that in the future. But I'm surprised that he kept on going at the refs, honestly, after that first tech.
Exactly. Also, I saw it was the referee from behind that actually called the second technical. I was a little bit, I definitely think, we're being honest, the first technical foul, he deserved it. Again, he definitely
Right,
was
for sure.
drawing with the
No,
referees.
I think even if he did get pushed, or regardless, you argue with the refs a little bit, you're going to get that tech. And like you said, absolutely, I think he did deserve it. The second one was a little bit premature, in my opinion, but
About
at the
that one.
same time, once you get that first one, you got to back away.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, interesting, unfortunate for him and the Celtics. You talked about Jaylen Brown. If he wants to be the MVP, do you think he should be in the MVP conversation? He's had some incredible stats, but when you look at some of these other players, the Jokic's of the world, the SGAs, even the Anthony Edwardses, do you think he belongs with those players at the top of the MVP conversation?
Absolutely. I think my pick right now is SGA. I think there's a little bit of fatigue there where he just won last year. So people don't really want to, they don't usually like having back-to-backs unless you absolutely deserve it, like Steph Curry did back in the 2010s there. But SGA changes the game, love him or hate him, changes the game that much. But as far as Jaylen Brown goes, absolutely. He's been putting this team on their back. Nobody expected him to be 2-3 seed, especially 2 seed in the East. And for him to, he's probably one of the reasons why Jayson Tatum did come back, because it had Jaylen Brown not played this well, maybe they would have been a 7th or 8th seed, and maybe they wouldn't have rushed Tatum back. But I do think with Tatum coming back, the one negative there is I think it's going to affect Jaylen Brown's stats this next couple of weeks, and I think you're going to start to see the voters start giving SGA and Jokic a little bit more leniency there. But as for right now, he's right there in my top 3. I would put SGA first, and I would have Brown and Jokic right after that. Do I think he's going to win it? No, I don't. I don't think he's going to win it. And I think part of that's because Tatum came back. And part of that is because just SGA breaking that record, Wilt's record, 20 points in a row. Amazing. And like I said, love him or hate him, you can't stop the stats that he's putting up. He's my pick for the MVP.
Exactly, definitely. He's my pick as well. SJ, he just does improbable stuff. Yeah, you talk about the record that he gets breaking it with Wilt Chamberlain. It's just amazing. SGA is something special, but definitely what I take out of this year for Jaylen Brown, maybe he's definitely not the number 1 MVP, but he definitely is an MVP. He's a most valuable player, and he's definitely the most valuable player for the Celtics. He stepped up with Tatum being out. One last thing, the Celtics, they really defied a lot of odds. You said that a lot of people thought they were going to be a 7th, 8th seed. I personally believe they were going to do pretty well, but definitely they're defying a lot of expectations. How far do you think they can go in the playoffs?
Oh, I think the sky's the limit. I think as soon as you saw the rumors that, and there was rumors all year, as soon as you saw the rumors that Tatum was coming back, eventually when he did come back, I mean, there's no other team. They picked a really good year for Jayson Tatum to have this injury because the East isn't that much of a powerhouse. I mean, Detroit, they seem to be 1 year away, in my opinion. I love Cade Cunningham. I love Jalen Duren. I like their bench pieces there, but I do think they're like one more veteran away from really, really giving kind of like what Houston did last year when they got Kevin Durant. I think you might see something like that with Detroit in this offseason. I think they're 1 year away. The Cavs still worry me. We have the Celtics, the Celtics have had their number this season, of course, but Donovan Mitchell in the playoffs can get really hot. In the last couple of years, they haven't been that healthy. If they are healthy in the playoffs in a 7-game series, they're going to want that series more than a lot of teams. As far as the Knicks go, they're I think they're right there as well. I think in my opinion, I will go with the Celtics. I think the Celtics have the most depth. I love the coaching by Joe Mazzulla. I don't think he's getting enough credit as coach this far. I think a lot of people want to put it on Jaylen Brown. A lot of people want to put it on Brad Stevens for building around Jaylen Brown this year, and maybe even the training staff getting Jayson Tatum back. But I think with what Mazzulla has been doing, kind of changing the starting lineup. Earlier in the season he had Minot, and then he brought in Baylor Shire. I mean, he's been really good at adjusting that starting lineup and who's coming off the bench and managing the minutes. I think they're just as deep as anyone in the East, and they would be my pick to win the East.
For sure as well. I definitely think they're at least going to go to the conference finals. At the very least, yeah, they've had the Cavaliers number. The one thing with Cleveland, James Harden, he's a player who hasn't won a ring. He could be really hungry. But again, that's the thing. It's the clutch gene. I just can't see Cleveland beating the Celtics in a 7-game series.
Yeah, I think we would have seen that by now. I think when you think of James Harden, the first thing I think of is how bad he is in the playoffs compared to how good he is in the regular season. I think if he hasn't done it by now, I don't think he's going to. The one thing that the Cavs have going for them is I think James Harden does know it's Donovan Mitchell's team, and Donovan Mitchell has that it factor where in the playoffs he can take over a game. Will James Harden pass him the ball come playoffs when you need a big bucket, or is he going to want to take the shot? And I think James Harden's defense is going to be huge, even if he plays some kind of defense in the playoffs. I think the Cavs can be reckoned. Their front court's as good as anyone, and they have that killer instinct with Donovan Mitchell. And like we said earlier, the East isn't that deep. I think in another year, the Cavs are an easy 3, 4, 5 seed. But this year, with the East not being that great, I have them as the second best team in the East right now.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on, Mitch. And yeah, make sure to check out Mitch's Twitch Mitch.
Yep.
Yep.
So if you
Twitch
go on
Mitch.
the Greg Hill Show, Twitch Mitch, that's the name over there.